Boss Rush 860 day 2. So this one is not a good farm day at all. I would recommend just sticking to day 1 and probably just skip day 2 because we have Plaguemaw the Rotting as the first boss, which, although it's a Baron's boss, is a fairly difficult boss. And then we have an Ahune as a follow-up boss, so it messes up the whole farm. And the Artillery Strike is only like 220 as the max, but that Ahune being in there does make this a bad day to farm, and the first boss is kind of slow and difficult. If you want to run day 1 though, just go check out, I've already posted 2 videos on day 1. One was with a Hooked Us Malchezaar comp that's also very budget friendly. The other one is a far less budget friendly, but actually produces more renown comp with Deathwing and Rattlegore. So check out both those videos if you want to see what our best farm for the week is. But for day 2 here, if you do want to run it, it has a pretty high stat requirement because we do have to take some hits. You also might need to reroll for a lower shadow anomaly to make the fight easier. I'm running Balinda with Lesser Water Elemental, Genn with Gilnean Strength, Medivh with Unstable Runes, Rogers with Scout Spyglass, and you need this to do enough damage to one-shot those Ice Shards for your cleanup on Ahune, which I think was like rank 23. I have it a bit higher because I was testing some stuff, but they have like 40 hit points. And then we've got Malchezaar 3 moves ahead. Again, that's for Ahune. And then we've got just another Artillery Strike mark here. I brought Eudora in case covering fire is useful in some circumstance. But most likely you won't use this slot at all. It's just an Artillery Strike. So let me jump into it here. Now, as I was saying, this fight, you are going to have to take some hits with this strategy. There might be some more budget-friendly comps that could drop an Artillery Strike, make the fight easier, but I didn't put too much thought into it because this isn't a good farm day or anything. So this is a low shadow anomaly, which is what you want to see. Basically, if your hit points on your reds with 1 buff from Genn from his Beastly Beauty are enough to tank a Shadow Bolt, then you should be good. So in this case, it's going to do like, I don't remember what the base damage on Shadow Bolt is. It's probably like 8 or something. So this would do like 321, I think, or something like that. It's around like 320 damage with the Shadow Bolt to my reds. So in my case, I have 288 here. I get 166 from the Beastly Beauty, so I'll be perfectly safe with that amount. That's kind of your benchmark for being able to survive this. You can maybe get a little bit more with a Mage Guard on turn 2, but it's going to be tight if you can't tank those hits. So the general strategy here, though, is we just counter these Putrid Stenches and we act slower. And we're going to focus down one of these greens and then kill the other green and then kill Plaguemaw last. You don't really need your Water Elemental. If it were to survive, that would be great. But it also causes some problems with board space, so I like to just throw it out here and stop one of these turf takeovers on turn 1. And because we got the 3 speed here, we're going to act slower than that. So 4 speed on this left guy, freeze on this left guy, shoot on this left guy, and shoot on this left guy here, because we can't use the taunt since it would act before this 3 speed here. So we're going to take 1 turf takeover. It's going to hit our Genn. Alright, so this turn we have Frostburn available, but next turn is going to be all 5 speeds, and we want to counter one of them. So I'm going to use that next turn, since we want to act at slower than 5 speed next turn. So for this turn, you could use either of these. We're not ramped on anything yet, though, so I'm just going to put some Fire Weakness here to help Genn out. We're going to go ahead and get our Summon out, and you can use your Mage Guard this turn. And because next turn is a 5 speed turn and we need to act slow, you'd have to pass with your Medivh. So we're just going to get our bird out next turn. And I'm just going to put health on my Genn here. But you could put it on your Medivh if you need that to survive the Shadow Bolt with your Medivh. I just pile stuff on Genn because there's a lot of attacks on this fight that just shoot highest health. So he's going to end up taking that damage anyway. So I just shove everything on Genn. But if you needed it here, like if this Medivh was going to be too low health for this Shadow Bolt, then you could put the Mage Guard on Medivh here. Okay, so for this turn, we're just going to act slower than 5 speed so that one of these melee attacks gets countered. So I'm going to ramp some fire damage. I'm going to keep shooting this left guy. You don't want to attack with this because it would eat your counter. And then we're going to summon a bird. And this Shadow Bolt, in my experience, always just shoots one of your reds. Your Arcane Ward is unprotected from that Shadow Bolt, so it's possible that the Shadow Bolt could kill your Arcane Ward. I've just never had that happen, so I kind of just plan around it shooting one of my reds. If it were to kill the counter rune, it would be problematic. I don't know. You might still be able to win the fight, but I've just never had that happen, so I don't know if the AI even can target there. Okay, so we're back to the first turn again, so we're just going to act slower than 3 speed and keep shooting this left guy. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Genn summon out here as well. And we're acting slow, so we can't use a Genn taunt this turn, and we're just going to get some damage here. You can double check those speech bubbles, make sure it says first on the thing you're expecting to be countered. And as you can see, we didn't have our Genn summon available on turn 1 on the previous iteration of the loop. So this time we're kind of getting ahead on our hit points. So we're much healthier on this round. And even though we weren't able to freeze one of those, we're perfectly fine here. So again, next turn is going to be the Shadow Bolt turn, so we're going to act slow next turn. So I'm just going to use a Frost Dart again here, which will also give me a Genn heal since it's even speed. We're going to shoot here. And if you need the health, you can swing with this and try to kill it off. If you do swing with it though, do not attack one of these prickly spikes guys. You have to swing into Plaguemaw if you are going to swing with it. And we don't want to get out another bird because we want to have a taunt in play here. So if you need this health from Mage Guard, you can Mage Guard. If you don't need the health from Mage Guard, you can just go for damage. And I don't think we need to try to put health on our Arcane Ward because, as I was saying, they seem to always target your mercenaries with that Shadow Bolt. So I'm just going to go for the damage here. And I'm going to leave this board slot empty for getting another Genn summon. You could summon another bird there, but if you did, then you would have to use a Medivh taunt to block a melee attack, and then you can't counter one of these enemy abilities because you would have to act too quickly. So you just need that empty board slot. So we're just going to ramp some more fire on this turn. And since we need a summon out here, this summon ability is not an actual ability. It has this silver minion summon border here. So that means that it does not activate the counter rune, so you're perfectly safe to need to summon on this turn while still countering this melee attack. So this guy's going to be countered. The Shadow Bolt should shoot one of our reds, and then this guy will melee swing into the Beastly Beauty that we just summoned, and then we're going to have an empty board slot again, so I'm going to go ahead and summon a bird now. And although that does fill our board up, that should be fine, because we can kill that bird off before the next Shadow Bolt turn if we need to. So when you get that Sand Burrow and the 2 prickly spikes turn, just swing with this bird into Plaguemaw and get it killed off. Now, you do have to be careful that your bird HP plus your Genn heal is less than Plaguemaw's attack. So if those aren't, you need to not summon this bird, or you're going to have to like shoot it yourself to kill it off to make board space. So just keep that in mind when you are going for this play to get a second bird out here. Okay, so we're basically back to turn 1 again. So I'm just going to act at 4 speed and slower here, and we're going to try to kill this guy off. This is going to do like 300 damage. This is going to do like 300 damage, so that's enough to kill this. So we can actually put this Balinda nuke over on this other green instead. And we're acting at 4 speed and slower. This bird is more ramped, so I'm using it to get the crit from Medivh. And then we can put this one here. That just gets countered. So this guy should die, and will only get hit by one of the turf takeovers. Okay, and now the fight's drastically simplified, so should be pretty smooth sailing from here. If you do need the taunt for next turn, You're going to want to make sure the sand burrow gets countered, and then you swing with this bird here to make board space so that you can make a taunt next turn. Again, we're going to save this to act slower than them next turn, so just acting... you can use either of these nukes. This one's ramped now, so you can go ahead and Flame Dart if you want, or you can put the Fire Weakness for Genn and get a heal on Balinda if you want that extra HP. It doesn't really matter at this point because we got plenty of HP on everybody. And again, if you need more health, you can Mage Guard on this turn as well. I'm just going for damage because I'm all set on the HP. In my case, I could probably let both of these attacks just hit me since I got a low attack anomaly here. But I'm still doing the strategy where I get the taunt out to show how the fight normally goes if you don't get these easy rolls. Okay, so we're acting slower than them this turn. So fire damage here. And same thing here. So this is going to be not activate the counter rune. This Shadow Bolt will get countered. This guy will swing into that taunt, and then we can get a new bird for a bit of extra damage here. Also, since this bird is ramped now, if you didn't want to summon that bird, you could go for the Arcane Rift, but then you'd have to counter yourself and let the Shadow Bolt through. So I'm just going for the bird summon here instead. It's a fairly complicated fight, actually, for being a Baron's boss. The way it works out. Okay, so we're back to turn 1 again. So we're just acting at 4 speed and slower. So this is going to do 360, and then this should be enough to kill. So I'll just shoot at this guy. And then I'm actually going to need to start putting some damage on my Balinda here. And we have to shoot a 4 speed, we can't shoot the 3 speed. So I'll just put that on Plaguemaw, I guess. So you just repeat that pattern that we've gone through, making sure you have taunts for the Shadow Bolt turn. And now we're on the cleanup phase, so just act slower than Plaguemaw and get your Balinda dead or improved artillery strike odds. So I'm going to take... yeah, I mean, she can't really do anything else productive, so I might as well just do that this turn. Because I don't want to heal her. We'll just go here. I'll take my crit since he's got a lot of hit points still, and then we'll shoot this one at Balinda. We've got a lot of HP on Balinda from all the buffs, but we do also have ramped birds, so we'll be able to kill our Balinda pretty easily here. Okay, we can't act with Balinda this turn, unless we want to let a Shadow Bolt through. Just going to shoot here. And I want to kill Balinda now, actually. Let's see. So 350... like 600. Do this order just in case I mess up the math. So that'll definitely not be enough to kill Balinda with the second shot. Then the third shot will kill, and then we'll get a bird out this turn. And this just gives us another bird, which is more damage than bringing out one of these benchmarks. And less animations, too, because we don't have to replace a mercenary. Okay, so we're just acting slower than Plaguemaw and killing Plaguemaw off now. With the ramped bird. And then next turn we should get him here. And that should be plenty of damage. So we're ending with 3 artillery strikes and then our Medivh and Malchezaar that we need for Ahune. I've already missed artillery strike twice, so hopefully we get it this time. Alright. None of this really matters. You don't want Stolen Invitation because it'll just mess up your Ahune fight. So I'll just take Everywhere Worgen, I guess. Or I don't know, I'll just take Ring of Protection. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to Artillery Strike Omokk here, which should be 160 HP red. He has 10 damage reduction on top of his 150 base here. Okay, and now Ahune. So I could take Spell Resistance. None of these really matter though. I guess this is the most useful, assuming that Ahune behaves normally, which he should. People on the Discord were telling me already that he does summon Ice Shards today, even if you have a counter rune in play. So you don't have to worry about like shooting your own stuff. So this one's probably the best choice out of these. And then these kind of clog your board up, so I don't really want to mess with any of that. I'm just going to take the stat buff, because it doesn't do anything messy. So it should just be Medivh, Genn, and Rogers here. Or not Medivh, Genn, excuse me. Medivh, Malchezaar, and Rogers. And I don't think your positioning matters. Okay, so the strategy here is you need to check what Ahune is casting, because sometimes he'll deviate and not cast the Ice Storm every single turn. So you might need to pass the turns that he doesn't cast Ice Storm. I also want to take a look at your Frost Anomaly. I got 214 here. So you're going to take the 10 damage from the Ice Storm plus 214, so 224. So you need 448 in this case on your reds to not die to the Ice Storm. You're also going to need 224 or above that amount to keep your Arcane Ward alive if you don't want to get hit by a second Ice Storm after you let the Ice Storm cast. So basically I want to get my Rogers able to survive an Ice Storm, and I want my Arcane Ward able to survive an Ice Storm. It's okay if these guys die. If you want to buff them out of range and you want to take the extra time to do that, you can. But the most important thing is that you get your Arcane Ward out of range and you get your Rogers out of range to die to this Frost Anomaly plus the Ice Storm. So in my case, it's going to be 225 HP on Rogers, which I already have, and then 225 HP on my Arcane Ward as well, just because after you do the combo and you reduce Ahune to 5 HP, and then all the Ice Shards get summoned, it's possible for Ahune to cast this Ice Storm ability again the very next turn. And if you don't have your Arcane Ward alive still, then that can kill your Rogers before you get a chance to swing and clear the Ice Shards out. So basically what you want to do is just spam Mage Guard until you reach those HP requirements. And you don't need to do anything with these guys, because they don't have anything to like buff HP. There are some treasures and stuff that you can do that are potentially beneficial, but we're just going to rely on Mage Guard here because we don't have any of that stuff. And Bird Buddy's another treasure that can be used to get these HP buffs up. So if you do hit Bird Buddy, you could take that one on Medivh. So we're just acting slower than Ahune here, while buffing HP. Okay, so we did get an Ice Storm again. Get some more HP here. Okay, so that's already high enough. So I could go ahead and pull the trigger now. If you want to be safe, or you think you might not have done the math right or something like that, you can go ahead and do a few more rounds. You can even go as far as like getting twice as much as you think you need, just in case you mess up and let that second Ice Storm cast go off. Because it only takes a few turns here, and the only thing you can mess up really is if Ahune casts something other than Ice Storm. You might have to pass a turn instead of getting a buff on that turn. So I'm just going to do a few here and see if I can get that to happen so I can show you that. And it doesn't hurt anything because we're just getting extra layer of safety here in case I do something wrong. It's pretty uncommon for him to cast anything other than Ice Storm, though. So once I get everybody up to survive this Ice Storm, I'm going to go ahead and go. But even if he doesn't cast something else. But I would like to show that he is possible, or he is capable of casting something else. Alright, so that should be enough for everybody to survive. I'll go ahead and get one more buff, and we'll see if we can get him to cast something else. Otherwise, we'll just say good enough and go. Alright, well, this is super overbuffed. I didn't have to go through all that. I could have just gotten that bare minimum of HP on the Arcane Ward and Rogers and then let these two die, because we don't need them anymore after this. But whatever, it's fine. We'll just go ahead and push here. So, it doesn't really matter at this point what I do with these, but what you need to do is counter yourself here, and then you want to speed up. So you see this says it goes next, so we have the correct equipment on Rogers here, or we don't have ship spell. So we're going to speed up our Malchezaar, so Malchezaar is going to be 2 speed basically, then we're going to cast All Realities, and then that'll make this Ice Storm reduce Ahune to 5 HP. And then we get the Ice Shard summons. Oh, and I actually didn't need quite as much because I have the Spell Thread Cloak reducing the damage, so I could have ramped even less. But as you can see here, he's casting an Icy Rage, so this one would have been fine, even if your Arcane Ward had died, but sometimes he does recast that same Ice Storm ability. But all we need to do now is just kill everything off with an AoE. So we have this passive here on Rogers from that third equipment, the Scout Spyglass. So all we have to do is swing here, and make sure you don't counter yourself, or you will be very sad. But that's it, that should clear it here. So we'll just go ahead and hit go on that. And if you didn't have enough damage on your Scout Spyglass to one-shot those, then you would probably want to ramp your hit points with Medivh's Mage Guard even more, so that you can survive those incoming attacks from the Ice Shards. They alternate casting their 7-speed melee attack, or they do that 7-speed icicle thing, and then they have the 5-speed melee attack. So sometimes you will take Frost Anomaly shots from those if you let them survive. And this doesn't really matter. So we got past Ahune, so now we're just going to Artillery Strike the last boss, and it should only have 220 HP as the highest enemy here, so we're all set on that. 220 on Dragonbone, and then 210 on Silas. So we'll collect our 215 renown here, and our 150 bonus, of course, since that was the first time I actually hit Artillery Strike. Pretty slow and tedious run, 33 turns. Plaguemaw is not a fast or super easy boss, has some pretty high stat requirements as well, for this comp anyway. And then Ahune is obviously a bit of a chore. You can do Ahune much faster than that if you just get the bare minimum of hit points and then pull the trigger on the combo right away, but I was trying to show that other stuff. So that'll do it for 860 day 2. Day 1 is our best farm for sure, using, as we saw in yesterday's videos, either this Hooked Us Malchezaar comp if you're on more of a budget, or the Deathwing Rattlebore if you have the stats to run that one. And this one does produce about 25% more renown if you are able to run it with the good enough stats. So I'll see you in the next one, and good luck on your runs.